Good afternoon, everyone. Mike Nicodema here from Greenberg Trarigs Equine Industry Law Group. Welcome to another episode of A Minute with Mike podcast, where we discuss legal and business issues that are important to everyone in the equestrian world. I have a really special guest today, but before we introduce him, I want to give a shout out to Dan's Papers, published in Palm Beach, the Hamptons, and Manhattan, and check out their coverage of the equestrian world. All right. I've been trying to get this man in a seat here with me for a long time. He needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway. I'm so excited to have him here, and I want to give you just a snapshot of some of this man's achievements. He competed with the U.S. equestrian team from 1968 through 1986. He won such major events as the Cleveland Grand Prix, the American Gold Cup, the Grand Prix of Montreal, and the American Grand Prix Association Championships. He studied course design under the great Bert Denemeth and Dr. Arno Gego. He was part of the course design team for the 1984 and 2000 Summer Olympic Games, and he was the primary course designer for the 2008 Olympic Games in Beijing. He was awarded the American Course Design Award in 1981 and 1982. He served as the U.S. Chef d'Equipe 5 times. He was inducted into the Show Jumping Hall of Fame in 2013, and he's the owner of Stevens Equestrian Designs, one of the world's most respected companies specializing in the design and manufacture of jumps for competition. Please welcome to the Minute with Mike podcast, the one and only Steve Stevens.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you.
Enjoy.
Is that a good introduction?
That's a pretty strong. I got to live up to that. I'm in trouble.
Okay, good. So at the Minute with Mike podcast, we like to get right into it with our guests. A lot has been written about you. You've given lots of interviews. So let's get right into course design. I've always been intrigued. My undergraduate degree was in engineering. For some reason, I was always intrigued by that whole concept of course design, the layout and the construction of the jumps for Grand Prix events. And I know you've been quoted as saying that for you love the art of course design. Can you tell us what you meant by that?
Well, I think there's a design and a flow to what we do in the sport today. Styles have changed. My style has changed from when I started. I really focused in on this after I quit riding in '86. I said, and I was doing some course designing prior to that. Really early '80s. I remember I was the course designer for the Washington International Horse Show for 8 years in a row. And I actually called recently to John Emmerman, who was the manager of it, and I wanted to thank him for trusting in me as a young guy. I wasn't that old and not a known course designer as Arno Gecko and people like that, Leopoldo Palacios, who have helped me in this whole industry as being a course designer. And the design, yes, there are many different elements that we go to. We have the safety. That's probably, if you say, what is your, when I build a jump, my number one priority is I'm going to build a jump that's safe. It has to be able to be collapsible. It has to be able to not have sharp edges on it so that it hurts the rider. If the rider were to fall off and fall on this thing, or if the horse were to get tangled up in it, I wanted to be able to get away from it. There's a thing that when we build every day, when we build, a gate is just a little element that goes in the bottom of the jump. So sometimes if you make the little holes in the gate too small that a horse's foot can go in the hole, we go easy in, easy out. Every gate we build, easy in, easy out. That means that horse isn't going to stick his foot in it, get his foot caught in it, and he can't get it back out, and he's running around the arena with this gate tripping him and falling down. That can't be. So that is a very much part of our everyday policy, safety. Now, when you go to the competitions get tweaked up a little bit. We have different levels of competition. We have, the local horse show. I have shows that I go to that people probably don't even jump over 3 feet. I feel that my part of their career, up and coming career, is to give them a good experience. So maybe they will become the McLean Ward, the Kent Farrington, the Laura Krauts, the Beezy Maddens. You know what I mean?
Sure.
We have to develop. We have to have up and coming riders for the future. So that little child, 10, 11 years old, has got to have the golden star in her head that I'm going to be on the Olympic team.
Sure, yeah.
So I want that to happen. So I don't build anything to discourage those kids. I want to build them up so that when they go home, they're all excited. They can't wait to go to the next horse show. You come up here to the Winter Equestrian Festival. Now you have to you're really responsible sort of for pulling out the results. And the results are how many go clear. So you shouldn't have, a lot of people use a percentage. I don't use a percentage, because if there's 10 in the class and you say, 25%, that means you only get, 2 or 3 clear. And maybe it would be just fine if, at that point, if half of them went clear and have 5, it's a little more interesting.
Is that kind of a rule of thumb, Steve, with some?
People use it to us. Oh, your percentage was good. I said, I don't have a percentage.
Right.
I said, if I'm 10 and under if I have a 30 horse class and I get 10 and under, I don't want 15 or 16 or 17. That's too many.
Yeah.
So what is it? What am I doing? I am giving the horse and rider an examination. I'm giving them an exam.
Sure.
How are you going to? So exams are done by the height of the fence or for the rider, the distances that we put in between the fences. So you can make it a little less comfortable. So you either make it a little bit, there's 3 things to do: long, short, or nothing.
Right.
Right on.
Right.
So you can have let's just use an example, 4 strides. In 4 strides, we know it's easy to talk about because it's 60 feet. That's why the horse will land and take 4 strides and jump another fence. The true distance is 60 feet. If you want to make it longer, you go to 64. You want to make it shorter, you could go to 58. You can only take away about 2. The other one, on the other side of it, you could add about 4. Now, when you get beyond 65, now you fall into what we call the half stride. Now, that's not comfortable for anybody, except me, the course designer, because I might be looking. But the new footing today in the sport has made the distances become easier for the riders because there's no slippage usually.
Oh, okay.
Usually you land and the horse might take a little skip with his foot, he stumble, trip, But I'm finding that the all-purpose footing that we're using, it's the sand-based footing, and it has the fibers and all the little things that hold it together, and moisture. Moisture is really important. You always say, they're having a break, the water truck's coming in, they're going to address the dress arena. They're sort of binding it back together with water.
Okay.
And you go to the beach and say, I'm going to jog down the beach. So you come up here about 20 feet off the beach and you start jogging. You're not going to go very far. You're going to wear out. The deep sand is going to get you. You go down to the water, you can go a mile. You know what I mean? That's the difference, showing you what the moisture can do with the same sand that's 20 feet up the beach that's down at the water line.
Okay.
So the moisture really does put it together.
Sure. Now, how about the process that you have to start somewhere? Like I know as a trial attorney, I typically start with what's the story that I want to convey to the jury, from my side's perspective. As a course designer, how does whether it's at the Olympic level or an FEI 5-star, do you have a sequence of events or a series of steps that you carry out in designing a course and the jumps?
I think it matters as to the competitors that are competing and what level of the class is. Like I said, if I'm doing a children's class where I'm trying to help develop them, I sort of don't build it as a competition. I want to build it as a learning experience, okay? The ones that want to win are going to turn it into a competition.
Sure.
They're going to go fast. They're going to make the turns that you said, I didn't plan on that. That's not what I expected. I just was going to be smooth and let them learn to ride and develop their technique. And But then you hear the rider's trainer, go, 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 go faster, go faster. You know, well, the faster you go, those falls hurt more.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not looking for speed in that level. Grand Prix level, it's a different story. You know, we're playing fast pitch. You know, you play baseball, they throw it in there at 100 miles an hour, and you got to swing it there. You know, if you play Little League, you know, here we're at 70 miles an hour, and the girls are playing softball at 66 miles an hour,
Sure.
underhand and knocking it out of the park. So everything has an element of degree of difficulty.
Yep. Okay.
So my difficulty as I go up, when I go from, let's just say from 140 to 160, now you're starting to put more pressure on the rider, which puts more pressure on the horse. So how's that? We're going to go a little taller. We're going to meet his level. If it's a 160 class, here's where people might not understand. A 160 class, that's 5'3" in the American standard, okay? Not every jump is 5'3", okay? You may have 3 maxed out fences at that height. Then you're down a little bit because the horse can't go out there and jump 17 5'3" pieces of, you know, they just wear out. So the big jump could be the last jump, fence number 7, fence number 9, 5'3". You'll see the 160 fence. Then you'll see the 155 oxer, 155, 5'1". Okay, that's a big oxer. But what makes it bigger is how wide it is. Where's the back bar? Okay, so you know you can stretch it out. Now you're going to make it 5'3" wide, 5'6", 6 feet. We don't see too much 6 feet anymore because the sport has gone into a little more delicate. They say, oh, the material, you hear the broadcasters when you're watching maybe a live show, live stream, they go, well, it's delicate. What do you mean it's delicate? Well, we've found a pole that's not so heavy. Mm-hmm. We have shallower cups. We have like 3 different depths of cups. And if you're looking at it, you see a yellow cup on the top of the thing holding the top bar. That's our shallowest cup. Okay, so that's an 18 millimeter cup. Then there's a white cup. They're 20. Then we have a red cup that goes on the back of it that has a device in it that's spring-loaded, which is a safety cup. So if that rail is hit with so much poundage of pressure, it will pop down out of the cup and release itself and not like get the horse tangled up, so that he doesn't like get on top of it and get tangled up. So the sport has really done its homework for safety in what we do.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot involved. I mean, equestrians kind of know, you know, how courses are laid out, about course design, jump design, but the average person going to a show that's not necessarily a rider or not necessarily deep into the equestrian world, they see, wow, these beautiful jumps. They're pretty. They're tall. They're laid out in a certain pattern. There's a lot of detail that goes into that, though.
It's funny that the spectators see the pretty horses.
Yeah.
And the gray horses obviously are prettier than the brown ones and prettier because we always say gray's a good color. You know, they have their little dappled, you know, their dark little gray spots on them, and they're beautiful, you know. And believe me, these horses get better care than people's children get. I mean, they get 2 or 3 baths a day. They go for walks. They get the best of feed, the best of hay. The equipment that is used on them, you know, it's custom made for them at the top level. I mean, this is a pro sport. You might not think this is the NFL for us. It's the real deal, you know. And probably the hardest thing that you hear, oh, it's the sport of kings or whatever a little bit, and you know, but these guys love what they do.
Sure. Yeah.
They would do it without the prize money is great. There's been since I was riding, I won the biggest class in the United States. It's called the American Gold Cup. It was our biggest event. It was $15,000 for the whole purse of the class.
Yeah.
I won $5,000. Right now, that would be 20th place.
Right. Right.
That would be the last guy on the prize giving ceremony, right? But The prize money has really grown. The value of the horses has escalated. So good. They've done their work and made the value. You know, I don't know that some of the prices that we hear are how true they all are, but whatever they are, somebody's working hard at it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people working hard at it. You know, I in preparing for today, I try to read as much as I could on you because I had never met you before, and I was really excited about today. I read where you once said that you take the rider's nerves into account when you design a course, because even at the elite of the elite in Grand Prix events, they get a little nervous sometimes. How do you take that into account?
Well, I think I would probably say what my weapon would be because if I'm trying to get the results, I might go ahead and ask a few of the tough questions early in the course. Don't wait till the horse and rider sort of warmed up to it. So I may go ahead and make part of my problem start as early as fence number 3, 4, 5, and get my job done early. The amateur used to be in the sport. I mean, we have some wonderful riding young people in the sport today, and it's unbelievable to go and watch a class out here in Wellington or Ocala and see the young people that have stepped up to the plate. Those people used to stay in the amateur owner division. They're doing the 3-star, 4-star, and some of them are doing the 5-star events.
Right.
So that tells me, I really like that. I really like to know that they are not afraid of the height and the width.
Okay.
You know, I would imagine they're a little more nervous than a seasoned pro. I would even tell you that McLean Ward will be nervous. Ken Farrington will be nervous. It depends on the severity of the class. You know, they want to win so bad.
Sure. Yeah.
I watched McLean come in the other night, and it was a class. We only had 3 clear, so that meant it was a pretty tough test for all the riders. We had 39 in the class.
Oh, Saturday. Yeah, we were there.
You know,
that was
39 in the
tough.
class, and all, 36 of them have rails down, and there weren't a lot of four-fault, just single poles down. They were 8 and 12, and they were in the money, and I'm going, wow. But I just watched him come in the ring, and before that jump off the guy, there was only 3 in the jump off. First horse had a rail down, so that kind of takes a little bit of the pressure off of the riders behind and says, I just don't knock a bar down, I beat that person. But the second rider put quite a bit of pressure down, and he wasn't slow, and he got the job done.
Yeah.
So I think he put a lot of pressure on McLean. And I watched McLean go in, and I just saw his face. I said, he wants to win this one. I've been around him enough, and I know he wants this one. He wants this one bad, you know. And I said, he's going to get it done.
I remember that, Steve. It was last Saturday. I mean, he's on Contagious. He was soaring over those jumps. It wasn't even close to a chip. He was just flying over them.
He doesn't make too many chips.
No, no.
But that, when it gets down to that level, and you get those riders that want it that bad, and they go after it and get it, and they seem to go faster and faster and faster. It's exciting when the last horse comes in and wins the class. You say, oh, what an ideal class. McLean could have been the first one, and he would have had to do the same thing because he's got to be worried who's behind him.
Sure.
But I would imagine we call that the catbird seat. I think the fact that he knew what he had to do, if he would have been the first in the ring, he probably wouldn't have put that much pressure on himself.
Right.
And that horse that was second might have caught him.
Yeah, the benefit
Because
of
he
going
would have put
last.
the pressure back on him. But you never know. It's the luck of the draw sometimes. But remember, they earned their spot from the qualifying class.
Yes.
He won the qualifier class, so that gave him the privilege of going last.
Yeah.
Not all shows are like that. Sometimes we just deal with the luck of the draw.
Yeah.
And with the luck of the draw, you go where you're drawing. You know, you could have the best 5 horses in the class be 1, 3, 5, and 7. And the rest of the class are just the rest of the class. The horses that, they're going to have a 4 or maybe 2 rails down. I always thought that 4 faults is just maybe you were just unlucky. You could have been clear. 8 faults, you sort of made a mistake. 12 faults, you for me, you failed the course designer's quiz.
Okay. That's a great way to put it. I think earlier in our discussion, you said that your process has changed over time, has evolved over time in the way you design courses. How so?
I think the flow, like we use the word track. It's where how the jumps lay out in the arena and how we do. You know, if you were to take a pencil on a blank piece of paper and you just start to do that, like, you know, before my edges would have been a little bit sharper, crisper. You know, my turns might not have been quite as in a flowy turn. And I've gotten help from my colleagues that do this. I have a partner that helps me a lot. He's helped me be better. You know, as good as I thought I might have been, he made me feel better about what I'm doing. You
Sure,
know?
yeah.
And so we've done a lot of good things. You know, we had a Nations Cup here a few weeks ago, and we didn't have a double clear round.
Really?
Yeah, no. Usually you get 4 or 5 double clear rounds. We didn't have a single double clear round. Now, half of the class was running the daylight,
Oh,
but then the second half is running night. But what is the difference? For me, the night classes out here, we've seen night classes after night classes after night classes, and we saw a round like we saw Saturday night. You think the lights were involved? I don't think so.
no.
I think the riders may see the shadows. I don't think the horses do. How many times have you heard of a horse ran into the tree at night in the paddock? Not too many.
Yeah.
They see.
Yeah.
You know, as we brought up a question earlier, what about horses with do they see color?
Yeah. Do they?
You know, if you would have asked me 5, 6, 7 years ago, I would have said no. I said, I think they see shades of gray, like watching a black and white television. You don't know what color that guy's jacket is or what color his shirt's on, but it's a grayish color. And I thought horses saw more of that. And why? Because it always seemed that the yellow and white jumped the hardest. So that meant that the definition of the stripes on the poles blended in together with the white. Now a green, a dark red, a dark blue, there's a definition on that pole that I think it helps the horse's depth perception.
Okay.
So when we go to championships, I see it more in championships, Olympic Games, Pan American Games, World Championships. Next time you are watching one, see how many on the course of 17 jumps, how many of them have striped rails. They've done away with the striped rails. They're using the solid colors. And now, when I had to create the championship jumps for the Tryon World Equestrian Games, I fell into the pastel colors and found out that the pastel colors the horses seem to have less respect for. So I'm not doing it for the horse and rider at that point. I'm working for the course designer.
Right. Sure.
I'm trying to help him get his result. His result comes from knockdowns, not clear rounds. Because in the World Championship, you don't have jump-offs. It's not a jump-off competition. It's an accumulative of faults.
Yep.
Okay, so I gave him avocado, I gave him tangerine, I gave him pale yellow, I gave, not always white, but white does work. Solid black works.
But not stripes.
But you put a stripe on it, you gave that horse a depth perception. He can see about where it is. It stands out in his eyes better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they knock down stripe rails, or you watch the stripe pattern on a pole. Your rail's 12 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
You got a paint job over here near the end, and a paint job over here near the other end, and in the middle where the horse is jumping, all white.
Okay.
No paint. You put the stripes in the middle, the horse seems to see it, sets himself, jumps over it.
Wow. So let's talk a little about what you consider to be your duties and responsibilities to the sport, to the rider, to the horse as a course designer, because you're the one who's designing that course for the athletes and to compete in.
What I've seen over the last 10 years, that sponsorships have moved in strongly.
Okay.
So now we have a very strong presentation of sponsors. and they're looking for their product to be on a jump. And the promotion companies, the promoters of it, need the sponsorship money to help support the sport.
Sure.
When you start giving away $400,000 on a Saturday night, their entry fee of those riders does not support the $400,000. It's such a small part.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, you'd have to have 300 horses in it to be able to earn enough entry fee. Because what maybe our viewers don't realize that every one of those riders is paying an entry fee. There is a fee they have to pay to go into it. Now, and it does vary on the amount of prize money. I could tell you that it's $1,000 to go on Saturday night, or it gets $1,500, or it could even, now they make a package, it could cost them up to $3,000
Wow.
because they have to pay the whole package.
Yeah, yeah.
When you enter it, you don't enter the class, you enter the division of.
Oh,
And you can go in any of the 4 classes that's offered.
right.
But if you have a horse and you say, oh, I'm going to go FEI, I'm going to go 5-star, and I'm going to go to Wellington, and I'm going to pay the entry fee, but I can't go in the big class because I'm not up to the big class. But your entry fee paid a portion of it because you
Sure.
went in the division, and it's not a la carte.
So there's that expectation of the sponsors and the money involved and all of that. How does that affect the way you do what you do?
The spot. Well, we have to make. We sometimes get a little piece of paper that says we need that fence down by the VIP.
Oh, okay.
We don't have a free rein every night.
Okay.
Sometimes we have to cater to where the sponsor's going to have their guests.
Sure.
So if we put their fence at the opposite end of the arena, and they're up here in the north end, and their jumps down in the south end because it suited me. It would have suited me better to have it down there because I go with colors too. I got the red ones, I got the yellow ones, the blue ones, the green ones, the white ones. I'm trying to balance it. I'm trying to make that arena like my living room. Mm-hmm. I got my couch, I got my setting chair, I got the table, I got the television, I got it all organized that everything in that room flows. That's my job. That's what I want to do. And that's what I have to do. And I have to do it, and I can work on it with color because you said, okay, you're the designer. So that's part of my design is how well I present it. I can't stick all the red jumps in one spot. I can't stick all the purple ones in one spot and all the green ones in one spot, and it looks like a big clutter of the wrong colors. So we slide them around, we mix them up. The worst thing is to have about 5 sponsors that like blue. And blue is a popular color.
Yeah.
And you go, and then I haven't had it happen a lot. I haven't really never had a manager say, oh, I need you to make them 12 clear. One spot does that, but it's because they like a long jump off. They like to excite the crowd. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay if that's the way it is. But if you notice here, this is a little bit higher end sport that we play here. We have international riders.
Sure. And Wellington International. Yeah.
At 3 Saturday night. You had the following week was probably 5. I had 5 in my Grand Prix.
Okay.
Anthony had 6 maybe, and 4. So but we've been all consistent. I don't like to see a course designer do a really good job and get his 10 and under out of a 40 horse class. And then all of a sudden he's got another class on Saturday and he gets 18. I think he didn't stay consistent with his layouts.
Sure.
Now if he softened up for a reason, you go, well, why did you soften up that much? You needed to stay consistent with what you were doing all week.
Right.
If we're gonna jump at that size, let's jump that size, but don't make it too easy. And it happens. If they say, oh, we want to have a few more in the jump off, and you have the reputation, you say, I usually get about 7 to 10.
Yeah, they want 12 to
Oh,
14.
you know, they want but we want 12. But if I open the door to get that extra 2, 4 slide in. I mean,
Right,
now I got
right.
16,
Right.
and then I'm not happy. They are. They don't care.
Regardless of how many blue jumps we have, how many red jumps you have, or where the jumps are placed, your primary responsibility, as every course designer's primary responsibility, is the safety of the rider and the horse.
And make it attractive
Yeah,
to the public,
yeah,
because there's the public that's sitting here looking at it. Whether the horse cares he jumped 5 blue jumps in a row, he doesn't.
right.
But it's just a clutter of a bunch of rails in the same color tones. You know, that's why we try to split it up. And then when the producers of the event say, "Well, I need the Rolex jump down here, or I need the Hermes jump over here," because they're going to have they've sort of taken away our free reign a little bit
Yeah,
and ask us to cater to a particular spot we've even had them say, "Would you make the triple combination out of Lugano diamonds?"
right. Why would there? I would imagine there are times where you say,
And
I can't do that for safety
Well-
reasons or some other reason.
I guess if you want to stay participating with this particular company, you need to cater to their needs a little bit.
Sure,
So you have to bend and be a little flexible.
sure.
And it's not that hard, but sometimes it's not necessarily where you might have wanted the jump to be. And it's going to have to go in a new location. The horse is still going to have to jump it.
Right, right.
But you might see the end gate, around the end gate is a little bit of an area that the horses respond to. So when they go past that end gate, say, "Hey, that's where I go out. I go back to my house going through here."
Mm-hmm.
So the horse they'll turn that corner. A rider falls off. You don't see the horse usually run to the other end of the ring. He runs down to the end gate.
Okay.
He knows his instincts are he knows that's the way home. So when I build a jump and I go around that corner and he comes past that, if he's got a little attitude, he may show up that attitude, which may affect him on that jump.
Right.
So I may use that end gate to my advantage on occasion.
Sure. Yeah. Now, I would imagine that being an accomplished rider yourself gives you an advantage in course design over someone who maybe wasn't a rider in their career.
I do think there's an advantage to that. I've thought that all my whole career, that I have now it doesn't mean that a person that didn't ride can't be a great course designer. You know, we've had great course designers that might not have jumped 5-star level. You know, I've jumped 5-star level, so there's nothing that I haven't really seen.
Sure. Yeah.
Now, as I said, the material that we're using in the sport today has gotten a lot lighter weighted, and we're using a variety of different size rails. We're using a lot of 10-foot rails. So you take a rail and you cut 2 feet off of it, you just took a percentage of the weight away from it for it to hang in the cup. And we even go down to 8-foot rails. So that's almost cutting it in half. So normally a rail is going to weigh in the neighborhood of 21 to 23 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So you start taking a foot off of it, chop it down, it's going to get lighter. So when the horse hits it and touches it, it happens to go bing quicker. It doesn't take the pressure of the horse rubbing it or hitting it.
Right. Yeah.
But they'll still knock the 12-foot rails down too.
And we've seen them.
Yeah.
We've seen them knock lots of stuff down. When you come up with your design, let's say for the Olympics, for the or a 5-star event, does the governing body have to kind of, give you the okay, pass on that design, approve it before it can get used?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I would say yes and no. They selected you to be the designer, and what we have done for the Olympic Games, I said Olympic Games, World Championships, I see the production companies wanting more of a theme. If we're in California, if we go to California, in Los Angeles, so the next Olympics that we're going to do, okay, Paris, okay, let's go to Paris. It hasn't happened yet. I think you're going to see a lot of things that would represent France
Okay.
in the arena.
Sure.
If there's not an Eiffel Tower in the ring, I'm going to be disappointed. Okay, in some kind of a way, you know. So I feel that that's what's going on in that level of the sport. Now we come to a Grand Prix, whether it be here, Ocala, New York, the Hamptons, Lake Placid, whatever. I don't think so. I do the jumps at many shows. So I have a lot of different style of fences that I can provide that might accommodate. For example, I wouldn't take my bougainvillea or my palm tree jumps and take it to Lake Placid.
Right.
If I've got something in the pine trees and things like that, or the forest, or whatever, I would. But a bamboo looking jump. I took a bamboo looking jump once to Washington, and the lady that ran the show goes, "I don't want the bamboo jump. That looks like Palm Beach." She was right.
What's wrong with Palm Beach?
But I know the course designer. I knew who the course designer was, and I had this one fence, and he loved the fence. I said, "Well, I'm going to send it up there for Paul to use." When he got there, and she said, "No, you're not going to use it because it looks like Palm Beach to me, and I don't want my show to look like Palm Beach." So
Okay.
she had the right. She had the right to say it. I don't disagree with it.
Okay.
You know, say, "Okay, put it on the side." So it took a trip for nothing. I don't care. There's enough other replacements out there.
I got it. Yeah.
But yeah, and as I told you, I see more solid colors coming into play at these world championships because I think the horses and the course designer wants to be able to get his result without overbuilding and building mountain jumps.
Sure.
We get criticized for that if we build too big.
Okay.
Oh, why does it have to be this big? Why is it this? Why is it that? Well, that's what the specs say it should be.
Yeah.
You're supposed to have 3 fences this big and 4 fences this big, and I have to meet it.
Yeah. And who
And now it's a certificate of capability that we have to have it.
Oh, and when you say the specs, is that who comes up with the specs? The
Well,
show?
the FEI has a schedule
Right.
that classifies 140, 145, 150, 155, 160. And usually they give that a star evaluation. It's a 3,
4, or 5
stars. And so the higher the star, the bigger the specs.
I gotcha. Okay. Here's one for you. Have you ever designed a course and you had an expectation, okay, there's 40 riders in the course, and based on my experience, I think 10 are going to go clear, and it was totally different than what you thought. The result was totally out of whack with what you thought it was.
I'm probably one of the few people that's had a 40-horse class that had nobody clear.
But you didn't expect that.
No, I did not expect it, but I've been in the business long enough that I have had it. I'll give you an example. The big organization up in New York in Saugerties,
Yes.
okay, put on one of the first ones here in the United States to put up $1 million.
Okay.
Okay, it was the Pfizer Million. You know, give them credit. They backed the event, so let's give them credit for what they did. Congratulations! I'm glad they did it. So, the production of Hits hired me to do the courses, and I accepted graciously. I said, "Great." He said, "I want you to be the first course designer in the United States to do a $1 million class." And that was the first $1 million class probably that we've ever had. So I said, absolutely. I didn't even blink my eyes. I said, yes, do it. So I went there. And I'd already been to the Olympic Games. I'd already been to Beijing. And I go, well, $1 million class, that's the championships of the individual gold medal class. It's got to be the biggest thing you've done. So I said, I'm going to be strong. And I was. So 40-horse class, I think it was a number, a guaranteed number they had to go, 40, 44. And I had 2 clear. Okay? So I said it was going to be real.
Yeah.
You know, McLean won it.
Okay.
Charlie James second. And a great class. Just to sit there and watch them try to achieve the test that was out there that day was difficult.
Yeah.
And I think people enjoyed watching the difficulty of it as much as they would have watched a 15-horse jump off and just watch everybody go fast. If you want to go fast, why don't we just run a speed class over the whole Grand Prix and just said everybody can go fast as they want, and the winner comes out the fastest with the least amount of faults. So I did it again, and I had one clear. Peasy Madden, the only clear round. That was interesting to watch for me, and people around me said, "Man, that was fantastic." I go, "Yeah, but there was no jump off. You didn't need a jump off.
No.
That was show jumping, Steve.
it's
That
the
was show
it's the
jumping. That was
thrill of
at the best." How many people knock a hole in one when they go play golf?
Right. Not many.
It's done, but it's not that many. So the following year, did it again. I had two clear. So 40, 40, 40, 120 horses, 3 years. I've only had 5 clear rounds. So yes, I have a tough I have a reputation of being difficult.
But I think there's a certain. I mean, when I'm watching a show,
But they didn't complain because they knew what it was. They knew what it meant, and it was doable.
yeah.
But they made a mistake. When they made a mistake, the jump was there to penalize them.
Because they're pros. They're the best riders in the world, right?
Supposed to be.
And this is the ultimate test.
Supposed
for them.
to be.
And I think there's a certain thrill about, you want to see people go clear, but I think there's a certain thrill in seeing, is anybody going to go clear on this course and what's going on? That's part of it. That's part of, at least for me anyway, it's part of the whole thrill of this.
Right.
So let's have a little fun, okay? I'm going to ask you a few questions about who the real Steve Stevens is.
Uh-oh.
All right? Number one, if you could tell every rider one thing, what would you tell them?
I answered this question in an interview one time, and I wish I could remember what I said it was, but I think stay focused on your career and stick to your fundamentals and stay with it.
Okay, that's good advice. How about this one? If you weren't a course designer, what would you do for a living? I know what I would do. If I wasn't a lawyer, what would you
I'm
do?
sure not going to be a carpenter because I do that in my course design. I don't really know. I really wish I was a lawyer.
Maybe not.
But I wouldn't be a lawyer. But when I get my invoice from a lawyer, I go, man, he's doing good by the hour.
No comment on that one.
Okay.
No. Do you have a personal motto or philosophy that kind of defines who Steve Stevens is?
Steve Stevens is not going to build a course that he wouldn't try to jump himself on horseback.
Okay.
I think that will keep me true to the sport, not doing something that's ridiculous. I always use that as my motto. I said, I won't build a course that I wouldn't jump. But then they go, but Steve, hell, you're not afraid to do anything. So I said, well, that's the way I am.
Yeah. But
Height's never bothered me when and a lot of people you see, oh, that's so tall, oh, that's so big, that's so what. But see, that never bothered me in my sport when I was a rider. The bigger it was, I figured it was to my advantage because I didn't let it bother me. Somebody said, well, you have ice water in your veins anyway, so what's the difference? You don't get nervous, you don't, but everybody gets nervous. Because, and you say, what's the difference between a 5-star, big Grand Prix, huge money, $1 million, or the Olympic Games individual gold medal round? It's the pressure that you put on yourself and what that title is going to mean if you win it. You can, there's people that go back 3 weeks ago and say, who won the Grand Prix 3 weeks ago? There might be only 2 people that can even tell you. They don't remember.
That's right.
You say, well, who won the Olympic gold medal or whatever, and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit that importance that goes along with that victory.
But I think that the fact that you remain true to yourself and true to your sport, that's what pros do. I mean, that's, at least in my mind, that's what part of what makes you a Hall of Fame.
I started this career at 15. My stepfather was a tomato farmer, Florida. and he had horses as a hobby. My first experience, I was 9 years old, not jumping. It was an endurance ride. And it was in the Umatilla Forest in Ocala. It was a 100-mile ride.
Wow.
And I was 9 years old, and I rode a pony. I want to tell you what, if you know what posting is, that's a lot of posting on up
Yeah.
and down and up and down and
That's
up
a lot
and
of
down
butt up and butt down.
for 100 miles. And I did it. I finished third. And it wasn't who crossed the finish line first. It wasn't that type of an endurance race. It was about the conditioning of your horse, how fast. We did it in 3 days. We went out 40 miles, and 20 miles on each day. And then the horsemanship is how you took care of your horse in the stable area, in the barn and everything. And I won the best horsemanship award. So that's where I got my career. That was my first competition career, was that.
Okay. All right, Steve, one last question for you. What does the future hold for Steve Stevens? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years, and where Steve Stevens would like to do is, I don't know if it's possible, but I'm gonna make a run at the Los Angeles Olympic Games for course designing. And I don't know if my age at that point will get in the way. I've already started my promotion as talking to the powers to be. I really want, even if I don't make it, I want the course designer to be an American, because it seems that a lot of our promotion people have gone European a little bit, but we're the host country, and I have already made a plan. I've already spoke to another person to be a co-designer. I already have a team together, if it can happen, that are of younger people to develop them into the sport, people that work with the other person that I want to co-design with, and myself, the person that helps me a lot, I want him to be involved, and the other guy has a guy, and then we will take a younger team along to give them the experience. I think that's great for me to leave that behind to them, but I don't care how old you are. There's an experience that you can't get. You know, okay, I will be 78 at the next games. I don't feel 78. I don't act 78.
You don't even look 78.
But that would be my goal.
Okay.
I do a lot of, the past 4 years, I have done the 3-day event stadium at Land Rover in Kentucky Horse Park.
Wow.
And they've accepted me quite well. And I told them if I could get any help and support from the eventing world, that I would like to do, even if I don't do show jumping, I would like to do show jumping 3-day eventing. And I said, I will do it for free. I'll come. It would be an honor to do it. It would to have that appointment. And then I would probably say retire internationally at that point. That would be a good going out.
Well, I'm expecting.
Doesn't mean that I won't do little horse shows or horse shows, you know, but as far as the international level, I think there's a time to step down when you've met all your goals. And I've already been involved with 3 games already, so it's not like if I don't get it, I won't be so disappointed, because I have had that experience.
Yeah.
And I've had good leadership, and I've had good tutoring. So I feel very accomplished, and I feel very satisfied that I could do a good job.
Okay. Well, you know what? If you retire today, you're retiring at the top of the heap. And
I think that's when you should quit, when you're at the top, too.
Well, you're still at the. I'm expecting to see you in Los Angeles, my friend. And thanks so much, Steve, for being here today with us.
Glad to be here with you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, this wraps up another podcast, Minute with Mike. We have a lot of great guests coming up, so stay tuned and check us out on Phelps Media, Instagram, and Facebook. Mike is out. See you next time.